All right, let her rip.
First, we'll go to Jameson Olive, FloridaPanthers.com.
Hey, Paul, good to see you. You've obviously been looking forward to this day for a couple months since you were hired. Just how good does it feel to actually be kicking things off, and just your initial assessment now that you kind of see all the pieces in place out there?
Yeah, you go from being from a real hectic summer, personally and professionally, you're moving. You've got 1,000 faces to meet and hands to shake and greet. And then everything, I think if it's done right, starts to calm down right before training camp. So the work's done, the video's done, the practices are done. And you can spend a little time in the last 2 weeks starting to meet some of the players. So I would have called them all twice over the course of the summer and had conversations, but now you get to sit down and talk to them. And then the exciting thing is, the first is testing day. So that's going on right now. And you hang around and you try to hear some numbers and see where you're at. But tomorrow is our first Christmas, right? We get pretty excited about the first day of training camp and the players are all fired up. So it's a fun day for us.
Mike DiPasquale, Channel 7, WSVN.
Paul, good to see you again. There's a lot of hype with Matthew Tkachuk coming in. And Sasha said, facing him, these are his words, he's a player that pisses you off.
Yeah. I would have thought pain in the ass, but I like that one. Yeah. Those were the words rolling through my head when you started. Go ahead. Sorry.
And then Sam Reinhart said he pisses you off because he's good.
Yeah.
When you have a player like this,
right,
what does this mean for this team? Because some people were saying that grit was not there in that Tampa series last year for this team.
So ingredients are key. You have to have a bit of everything on your team to be successful. He brings a really unique ingredient. I don't like the word agitator with him because it almost it undersells the quality of player that he is. He's more than that. He's just so darn involved in the play that, if there's a scrum, there's a pretty good chance he's in the middle of it. That's the style of game he plays. But really what it boils down, he has this incredible set of hands. Right, his hand-eye coordination, his ability to tip pucks, and he's not afraid to use those hands within 5 feet of the net. So there's lots of skilled guys, and they are skilled, and they're great players, and they play on the outside, and they're very productive. But this guy will play inside all night. Sometimes he's going to get into the crease. Sometimes he's getting into your head. Sometimes he's chirping, but it's all about competitiveness, and I think he loves it. Like I think he gets fired up for the games. You'll see the emotion that he plays with. So do we need everybody to play like Matthew? No, we need everybody to do what they're great at. But you need players like Matthew that aren't going to change their game depending on the opponent and the style of game.
Tim Reynolds, Associated Press.
Hi, Paul.
You're like right behind the light. This is almost a CIA moment, I think. I did it.
Tell
I
it's
did
even
it.
on from here. So welcome again.
Thank you.
I have two questions. One, you alluded to it, how it's in a perfect world, that rush of newness and getting to know everybody, how it tapers at this time of year. Do you feel settled? Like, do you have even a cursory understanding of South Florida yet? I mean, do you I guess what's that process been like?
Yeah. I mean, on a personal level, like on a non-professional level, I think so. Like the house is bought, most of the boxes are unpacked. I got 2 kids that kind of came with me. One's in Coral Gables, one's in Estero. Their place is unpacked. They're out of our house. That we noticed.
This is being streamed,
so,
right?
But once kind of you get down here, for me, you will spend most of your days at the rink, which is where you want to be because there's an awful lot to do. So experiencing all of South Florida, we haven't gotten to that yet. I mean, I've picked up on the weather's great, right? I actually like it when it rains because it cools things down. So I've learned a few things. People are real friendly. There are a lot of passionate hockey people down here, but I kind of expected that because you could kind of see it from the outside when you come in. As this team kind of grows and comes into its own, there's lots of hockey fans here. They're going to love it. Other than that, from tomorrow to hopefully sometime in early to mid-June, I'm probably not going to get out all that much and enjoy it, but some days will.
The follow-up was this last season, the war in Ukraine started in February, and Andrew spoke often about how he had to check in on Bob quite a bit. Just where's your head at? Where's your head at? There's no Cliff's Notes for how to coach a player when dealing with real world stuff 5,000 miles away. Have you gotten What's your relationship with Bob? How do you have you learned to
Yeah,
read him?
it's
and
our
all that?
relationship really is just starting one meeting, hockey related, family related. I think what's important is that they all feel in some the support, but an actual structure to that support. So certainly, and Robbie Tallis does a marvelous job developing relationships with goalies. So that's the first support structure for them. Coaching, then management. And then this is true of whatever a player would be dealing with off the ice, that there is a structure there. If he needs help, he can get help. Professional people to talk to. I think if there is, I'm going to be careful how I say it and be careful how you guys write this, please. Take care of me on this one. If there's a silver lining in COVID and people lost their lives, so I want you to be careful, and I'm trying to be careful with it, is that we started to really look at mental health. And I would say just personally for me, I did, where you start to wonder what a player is going through more. 25 years ago when you came in, nobody ever talked about that stuff. You didn't want to talk about that. Now that is forefront in what we do. And we do have a structure of people here to help with that. So anything that a player is going through or a staff member, we do have support, but we also have a structure to that support.
Doug Plagans, 560 WQAM.
Coach, welcome.
Thank you.
Just wanted to get a sense from you. You come in here, a team that's got lofty expectations, high aspirations, as you mentioned, a very gifted, talented group of players. How much excitement is there for you from your perspective to step in with a team that, like I said, not only has the ability it has, but the aspirations that it has?
But that's what you all want, right? You want to be at the plate when you think the game's on the line. So we're kind of feel we're coming into that. I'm mindful of this and I'm not trying to take pressure off. We've got some players that have left. We've got some players injured, kind of out. So we're going to face maybe a little bit of adversity. And one of them is, is 122 our baseline to how we're doing. So we got 122 points, but you're not projected. We've projected after these 10 games that you played that you're going to get 114. What's going on? So we want to make sure that we build a game here, one that suits our talent first. We're not going to change styles. Build a game here that we can play past April, that we can have success with. So we would say one team has success, everybody else, I guess, fails miserably. Kidding. But we want to start the process then of building a game that we can carry straight through from playoffs, from the regular season into playoffs. I'm excited about it. It's not going to be a straight line in my mind, because part of what has to happen is we're going to have to push these guys real hard. And we're going to have to grind them a little bit. We're going to have to really enjoy our adversity, because they actually didn't really have a whole lot of it to deal with last year, which is a positive. They were just good. They just won an awful lot of hockey teams. And then they played two really, really good teams in the playoffs and they got beat. So we want to try to get better.
David Wilson, Miami Herald.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Kind of going off that, you talk about playing to guys' strengths or your roster strengths. Obviously, you're here for a month, and then that one of the biggest blockbuster trade happens. And obviously, Huberdeau is one of the best players in the league, but he's a different player than Matthew. Just, I guess, one, what was your reaction when you heard the big trade like that was going down? And then two, how does that, how will that change the way you guys play, having a different style of guy?
That's a really good question, because the players are the clear definers of how we play. Your talent pool, the style of play they're great at. Whatever they're great at, that's the style that you have to play. What Matthew does is changes options that we have in the style of play. So we would like to think we're going to get to the point that we're much stronger in corners and within the 3 feet of the wall, which is where 85% of this game is played. We can grind offense as well, not become an offensive grinding team, because how this team gets through the neutral zone is almost unique, right? The forehand that they have, the execution, they don't lose any speed off the rush. They put pucks into holes. They don't necessarily slow down to make tape to tape. They just keep pressing speed, which causes a tremendous amount of chaos when you're playing against them. So I don't know that Matthew necessarily, that we would say, hey, we needed more of that. What Bill is very astute at is this is what we need more of. We need a different option. He can skate, he can make the plays, he can do all those things. We're not slowing down in the neutral zone. But we should be by the end of the year, in part through players like Matthew, in part that some of our young players will develop, and then in part the coaching staff we will spend, well, tomorrow the last block of our practice is going to be played within about 3 feet of the boards. So that would be an indicator to you that we're going to try to develop that in our game, our ability to hang on to pucks, also our ability to win the battles within 3 feet of the walls in our end of the ice. That would be, we would say, in addition to what we have, something that we want to become very good at it, but we have no plans of losing what our strength is.
David DeWork, Local 10 WPLG.
Hi, Paul. This isn't your first rodeo, obviously. You've been around the league for a while now. But coming into a new team, what have you learned through your career as a head coach, being through what you've been through, that you think is going to help you out with the new team here in a new situation in Florida?
Yeah, what makes this difference? So part of it, and I'll answer the first part of this from a personal point of view. I only wanted to go back and work at a place that I thought I could get better, that I could eventually be much better coach by the end of this year than I was when I came in. And that's where the driver of this was for me. Bill and the players, right? Very active general manager. He asks an awful lot of questions. He has a lot of ideas. And that is the environment that I think that I can work best in, right? He's going to ask you a bunch of questions you don't have the answer for, and you go find the answer, and all of a sudden you're better. So he's very active intellectually about the game. And then you're watching the players. And I do know that there are kind of a life cycle of a team, what they go through when they rise to their best. And this team has still got some lessons it's got to learn. I've seen those. So I think the timing of this is really, really good for me personally and for the team. We're gonna push them hard here in camp. We're gonna develop parts of the game that maybe aren't particularly fun to develop, but they'll enjoy that because they get to keep all the other parts they're great at.
Armando Velez, Locked On Network.
Hi, Coach. How are you? So Bill Zito making the trade, sending Mackenzie Weegar and Jonathan Huberdeau out, the guys who are in their late 20s. So the average age of this team has gone a lot younger. How much are you looking forward to coaching some guys who are already in their prime, along with those guys who are just trying to make a consistent stay in this organization?
So they got it's this great mix now, right? So a lot of your drivers are coming right into their prime. They're not necessarily 33 and they're just starting to come in. The Barkovs, even Aaron Ekblad, it feels like he's been in the league as long as I have. And he's still a young man, right? There's more there with those guys. And then you've got some kids. I think the mix is critical. 1 year, I think the year we had about 114 points in Winnipeg. I still think we had about the third youngest forward group. So you know that they still have some years before they're going to hit that prime. That most of the drivers here are in their prime, or just more exciting, they're just coming into their prime. They're just starting to get to that point where they've got experience. Their bodies are heavy enough now. When they train in the summer, they train harder. Their capacity grows so they can do more. Really excited about that.
Thank you, Coach.
My pleasure. Okay, guys.